All right, this is a 12 by 20 Armadillo short-range rifle target by shootsteel.com. Big thank you to them for sending this out to me. They also sent me out this 20-inch gong that I requested for my long-range videos, so I appreciate that too, guys. Seriously, thank you very much. But anyways, so they sent me this thing out to test out. So as I said, it's a short-range rifle target. Typically most steel target manufacturers recommend that if you're shooting 7.62 by 39, 7.62 by 51, 308, 30-06, 223, 5.56, anything like that, that you have the targets out at 100 yards, both for somewhat your safety against the spalling and the fragmentation, because shooting a rifle has a lot more blowback, and the blowback is a lot more powerful when the bullet fragments on the target compared to shooting pistols. But also you run the problem of pitting with those high velocity rifle rounds. And what I mean by pitting is this. So it basically looks like little dents or little chips in the target. So if you've shot steel very long, you're probably familiar with that, or you see it a lot on the ranges. So that's from hitting something like this with too high powered a rifle round too close. Other than being mildly unsightly, there's a few reasons that you don't want this to occur. The biggest reason being that once you have these indentations like this pitting, if you happen to hit that, because it's a little bowl shape, instead of your spalling fragmentation just going out at roughly 20 degrees, angle this way and that way and on the ground and up in the air, when it hits something like this, because it's a bowl shape, it can actually hit it and then kind of curve off the edge and then send it back at you. So that's why typically with AR500 steel, they say for those rifle rounds 100 yards back or further to reduce or eliminate the possibility of that occurring. For the even higher powered rifle rounds like 300 Win Mag and 338 and such, they usually will recommend 200 yards. So this system is meant to mitigate and eliminate that by the way that this is set up. So this is actually intended for using such rifles at close range, up to 308. So you might notice it looks like it has a little funky stance to it, and that's by design for the purpose of mitigating and eliminating, tripping over a stump here, that pitting. So at this angle here, you can see it looks kind of wonky from the side, but from your shooting perspective, even up close here at about 7 yards now, it looks almost normal. And the further back you get, you can't even tell that it's at an angle. But that angle, what that does when the bullet comes in here, because of this somewhat extreme angle, it hits it and it shoots it downwards. So that alone helps mitigate those indentations a little bit, but I think it's mostly for safety. So for you shooting it closer, like I explained, hitting something like this with a rifle round is a lot different than a pistol. Not only is there a lot more power, but when you do get the fragmentation and the spalling, it comes out with a lot more force and they can travel a lot further. So the angle of this, what that does is it sends it all straight down into the ground. But also, this is AR550 steel. So typically your steel targets are AR500 steel, as many know, but this is AR550, so this is a little bit stronger, and in tests it can withstand those high-powered, high-velocity rifle rounds at closer ranges without getting that pitting effect on it. So the plate itself is AR550, the arm here AR500, and if I read correctly, the legs are AR400. I don't think you're going to have any problem shooting the legs, so it's just mostly for, the fragmentation that goes down. AR400 legs, more than enough to stand up to the fragmentation without any damage. So for any more information on this thing or anything else they offer, be sure to check them out, shootsteel.com. But I'm going to get to shooting this thing. So I brought my Anderson here, AR, but it's chambered in 7.62 by 39, so the AK round. I also brought a shotgun to hit it with some birdshot and buck. And then I also got an arrangement of different caliber pistols over here, going to hit it with 2. So I know it's marketed as, the rifle target, but it should be no reason you can't hit them with the shotguns and pistols. So I'm going to enjoy that aspect of it as well. So they recommend shooting at a minimum distance of 50 yards, a little bit further than 50 here, but I'm going to scoot up to 50. But Honestly, don't think there would be really much problem shooting it a little bit closer. Obviously, the distance with this thing, because like I said, you don't have to worry about pitting on it. Mostly for your safety for the blowback, because when those rifle rounds, they fragment on that steel. Like I said, they got a lot of power and they throw a lot of shrapnel at very high velocity. So I wouldn't recommend trying it at home, but I'm going to try it at a closer range to see if we get any pitting whatsoever. And generally what causes that pitting is high velocity rifle rounds, usually around 2,800 feet per second is what causes the pitting. It's not the overall energy of the cartridge per se, it's the velocity, because that high velocity is what causes those pittings. This rifle is under that velocity easily. At the muzzle, it's like 2,400 feet a second with the 7.62x39 caliber. But these, being Tula, these are actually a bimetal jacket. So these are not 100% copper jackets like your brass cased ammunition is. These are a bimetal, so these are actually harder. So that'll be a good test for it as well. But being that the velocity of this is well under 2,800 feet per second, I don't think it's gonna pit it whatsoever. I mean, if you shoot it with an AR with 3,000 feet per second round, super close, closer than you should be, it may pit. I honestly don't know, but we'll put it through its paces today, bring it a little closer than 50 and hit it with these bimetal cartridges. All right, so I'm gonna warm up with these pistols here. Go in order. I'll do 380, 9mm, 40, and 45. Then we'll hit it with the shotgun and then finally the rifle. I had a hard time seeing it with my 45 because the sights on the 45 are black with white dots. So it was blending in with that black and gray down there from where the bullets are hitting. Now obviously you can paint these things. I just didn't bring any paint with me today. I figured we'd take a look at this real quick before I cover the whole thing with birdshot and buckshot. It was kind of warm from the bullets. It's full sun out here today too, so yeah, I mean, as expected, they're pistol rounds. They ain't gonna do nothing to it. I was about to walk away and I just noticed that, so you can see the trench there from all the fragmentation hitting it. Let's see if it, yep, it's pretty much in line with this. Straight down back behind it is where it sends everything. All right, here's a mix of number 5 and number 6 birdshot, 12 gauge by the way. Okay, now we got 2 rounds of number 1 buck, followed by 3 rounds of 4 buck. And I thought I brought double-aught buck, but apparently I didn't, so we'll switch over to the rifle now here after we scoot back a little bit. Alright, so I put a little paint on it so I could see it better from back here. That is laser confirmed 50 yards from where I'll be standing. But yeah, real real crappy paint job down there because I only had about half an ounce of paint left in my can, but it is good enough so I could see the orange from back here. Well, I just found out just how much better I am with a red dot than irons on these things. I'll zoom you guys in for these 10 here. All right, let's check this thing out. Looks like I got a few headshots there. I noticed my rifle was shooting low from 50 yards, so I started aiming a little higher, and that's why we got some on the head there. So, completely smooth. The trench is getting bigger there. But yeah, no worse for the wear. So let's try it a little closer now. All right, I'm at 20 yards now, so I don't recommend you do this because Shoot Steel does not recommend you place it any closer than 50 yards. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and test it out for you guys at 20 yards, but do as I say, not as I do. And with that being said, I'm 100% positive I'm going to be fine, so. Got it done. Had this happen a few times with this Tula. Good primer strike and no fire. Not sure I ever tried that before. That's definitely a lot harder walking and shooting. Yeah. Not a darn thing. Completely smooth. Like I said, you can see where it's sending all the fragmentation, the spalling, the shrapnel. And seemed to stand pretty steady and firm the whole time. As long as you find a good flat spot on the ground, it doesn't seem to really move around or nothing. So like I said, guys, they don't recommend placing it any closer than 50 yards, but I wanted to give it a try there at 20 just to see, you know, if we had any issues, which we didn't. If I had 223, 556, I would have tried it for you guys. Same thing with 308. I'm sure it'll be fine. Like I said, those Tula cartridges, they are a bimetal jacket, so they're actually harder, and so they're a little tougher on these targets here. I've noticed dents on my 1/4 inch stuff that I shouldn't even be shooting rifles at with those, whereas the regular, you know, 100% copper jackets do not dent my 1/4 inch stuff. So those are definitely harder on the target, and still we have no issue here. Remember, as long as you use anything under 2,800 feet per second, it should be fine. Other than energy, I think this the 3/8 inch, you know, it's good for up to 308, 30-06, but I believe if you're going to hit it with something bigger like 300 Win Mag, 338, even though the velocities, like especially for like a 338, you might have velocities under 3,800 feet per second. But that rifle just has so much energy. I believe on that you would want to go a little thicker on the steel. You can read all about that and more on their site. Again, shootsteel.com. But yeah, this is going to do you good for anything up to 308. And you keep it under 2,800 feet a second, there should be no pitting. And I'm thinking that if I read correctly, with this being 550, and especially at that angle, I'm thinking it's still going to mitigate a lot of the pitting, even if you do exceed that 2,800 feet per second, just because of the design of it and the fact that it's AR550 and not AR500 steel. But I think the main purpose of this is so, you know, as the name implies, short range rifle target, you can shoot at it safely from closer ranges than you typically could just from hanging a random piece of AR500. And then the added bonus of it being AR550, it's a lot less likely to pit unless you hit it with something that you shouldn't be. And like I said, there's potential dangers with this pitting. We've hit these with 7.62 by 39 and, you know, the 5.56 well closer than 50 yards, and you can see there's just pitting all over it from that. So, you know, at a certain point, this is like, okay, this is getting dangerous, this needs replaced. So at least at 50 yards with that, you should never have to worry about that. But yeah, it's a great little training tool. It'll let you get a lot closer with the rifles there safely, so you can train with you know, rifle on steel instead of target. But that's going to wrap her up. Big thanks again to Shoot Steel for sending me that and that gong I asked for. Thank you very much, guys. Be sure to check them out on shootsteel.com. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one.